So I'm Brad Levitt, president of ICF Construction. In today's video, we're gonna be taking you to the Hillside ICF house, and we're gonna be taking you on a walk around the exterior. This is also where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hang out. So we're out here at our Estancia project, and this is a hillside build. You can see here that we're at the base of Pinnacle Peak. One of the things that attracted our client to this location exactly is because of the backdrop. You can see that you have the Pinnacle Peak right there. This is the hiking trail. So as we're walking around the house, you can actually see some hikers up there right now. You'll actually hear their voices as we're walking through. So you have a lot of the natural swirls and vegetation. So this was just a nice, quaint little corner at the end of this cul-de-sac for our client. But one of the most important things, whenever you're building a hillside custom, you need to think about the logistics. There's a lot of components that go into a hillside build, and one you'll see right behind you here are these retaining walls. So although we only see roughly 6 or 8 feet of surface area, some of these retaining walls are actually 8 to 12 feet deep, and they're in tiers. And so one of the main components is when you come out, especially in Scottsdale, we're dealing with something that's a little bit different than most areas. You'll see that this is natural vegetation. So we'll come through and we'll stake the project. So we work with the city of Scottsdale, and they have what they call NAOS. So if our client purchased 5 acres of dirt here in Scottsdale, even though they own 5 acres, they're only allowed to build maybe on 2 acres. Only about 40% of their building envelope on the site. So with that building envelope, we have natural protected vegetation. We have saguaros, mesquites, and different plants and shrubs that we have to protect. So we'll send a survey company through, and they'll come through and they'll tag each of the plants, they'll tag all of the mesquites, and then we will, through our landscape architect, we'll figure out where those are gonna be replanted on site. So there's 2 parts to that. One, we have to come in and we have to replant those on site. And then some of them that get replanted actually around the house, we'll take those off site and we'll monitor those and we'll water them and we'll stage them for the year until we're ready to replant those. So once we've already taken the protected plants off the site in that building envelope, now we can start working through the house. So we'll come through with our grader, and the grader will come out and he'll de-shrub everything. He'll kind of get everything nice and cleaned up, ready for grading, and then he'll start the mass grading. So on this location, because it's a hillside and it's tiered, you know, we have 5 tiers of retaining walls. He started on the main pad, and then we start from the base up. So you can see here that we start from retaining wall 1, and these happen in lifts. So what that means is that because of the height, we can only do about 4 feet. So our mason will come in and they'll do 4 feet of masonry wall. We'll put the rebar in. As you see here, you can see that rebar's in. You know, we'll have vertical and horizontal rebar. That gets inspected. Once it's passed inspection through a third-party special inspector, we verify that with the city, we get approval, and then we fill it with concrete because these are solid grouted. And we have certain engineering qualifications here because, again, you have dirt and pushed up against these walls. And then we also do waterproofing. So you can see here, we have a waterproofing membrane that goes on the wall, and then we have this pad that's there protecting that. So then as the excavator is moving the dirt against the wall, it protects that waterproofing from getting punctured. So that's an important part. So as we do these 4-foot lifts and we get to the appropriate height, then we start on the next phase. And you'll see here that we have a step back here. We have a little setback enough to get a bobcat and other equipment through, and we'll do some plantings that make this nice with the landscape, and then we start on retaining wall 2. So anytime you're building, it's important to start thinking about access. So what's unique to most of our projects is, as I mentioned, we have protected deserts. So this site fence wall is a barrier for our site. So everything inside of this site fence wall, we're allowed to work on, we're allowed to do construction. Everything outside of that, we cannot, because that's protected desert. So we can't even drive a bobcat through. We can't drive a backhoe, anything. So as you're digging a pool, which is living in Phoenix, all of the homes we have, they have pools, they have landscape. This is a big component. So it is super important that the pool goes in first. And you'll see here that actually the pool wall, as you see here, it's a little bit different than our retaining wall. And that's because the pool structure itself is acting as the retaining wall. So this is the south side of the pool wall, and then you have this side over here on the east, and this is functioning as both a retaining wall and as the pool wall itself. So you can see here that we've actually already poured the shotcrete on this pool. So this is finished, and you can see how thick this wall is. So this is thicker than you'd normally see. And the reason being that it's bearing, it's retaining. So, and then you have, this is gonna be a planter wall. This will be a decorative planting. So the pool was one of the first elements that went into this house, even before we started the house. And the reason being, we had no access. We wouldn't have any way to get equipment back here to dig this pool. So our pool's typically going first. Again, thinking about that planning. So logistically, with manpower, with cranes, the ability to set boulders, you'll see here that as we walk around the project, we have roughly 38 different decorative boulders, and each one of these boulders was hand selected by our landscape architect and our client at our rock yard. And so these boulders were picked and then staged and numbered of where they go around the house. And these were actually set as well before the house was in place. The reason being that when your roof line's in and the trusses are set, it's very limited access to get these heavy boulders around. So it's a lot easier in the beginning to get our equipment up here and set these in place. And the reason, one of the questions we've had many times is, can you just take on the property, you know, the boulders on site? Well, here's an issue with that. A lot of these are set in the earth. So as you're pulling these boulders out, even though you shouldn't, you know, they're gonna be dirty, they're gonna be just weathered over time, whereas these still have that same look of what were of the exterior here, but these are a little bit more decorative. So now one of the other components for us is the riprap. So as you see here, these are big bags of Riprap Rock. So this rock, this is decorative rock that'll be installed. And again, all these bags are full of rock because there's no access for wheelbarrows to haul this rock around the house. So these are all set again before the house is constructed. And the purpose of this river rock is twofold. One is to give us a nice look, you know, for the landscape package. Number two, it is to eliminate erosion from the hillside. So one of the issues we have in Arizona, although we don't have a ton of rainfall every year, what we do get is rainfall that's really heavy during monsoon season. And so you can see here with this hillside as we're walking around the property, that one thing we have to consider in a home such as this is all the water that's gonna be coming down the mountain here, all down the hillside. And so we have to divert that water around the house. That way we don't have water intrusion into our home. So we create these channels. You'll see this natural river that's been graded, and this will be filled with river rock. And what that does is slow down the speed of the water. It also helps with erosion because it won't move all the sediment and the soil. So it'll break down that speed and just keep the overall intent of the house. Now another thing we've done, and this is a lot of coordination with our civil engineer. So our civil engineer that really understands the amount of water that's going to be coming down this hillside, the speed of that water, how that's going to act. You can see here that we've created this berm, and this will divert the water two different directions. That way it goes around the house. In addition, we have massive French drains in the courtyard. There is a center courtyard in this home, so we have these very large French drains, two of them that'll again capture that water and take it out to the street. So as we mentioned, we have these large drains. They were installed with our grader and excavator with coordination of our civil engineer. And what happens is we build this basin here. And again, all the water from this hillside will drain into this tank. And we have access here. So in the future for service and to clean, we have this access with the steel ladder, and you can see that drain that almost I could climb into. And all the water, you can see that it's elevated. There's a lip on there, and the reason that is so as sediment does maybe fall into here, it won't clog it. So that way as the water rises, it'll dump over, drain out without clogging our drain. This is also where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hang out. So thanks for tuning in today to our AFT construction video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. That way our videos come up, and check that bell. And if any of you guys have any questions or anything you want us to answer, please do so in our comment section and we'll respond.